Hey everyone, hope you're having a great day. I want to start out this week's episode by asking you a simple question. Is your physician's salary really safe? I know this is a tough one to think about, and my goal is never to scare anyone or to be an alarmist, but I just want people to be prepared. You've gone through years of training, countless hours. You made some really big sacrifices to get where you're at today. And maybe right now things feel secure. You've got a good position. You've got regular income, maybe you even have a little extra to invest or save. And here's what I've learned. Just because your salary or your income from medicine feels safe, that doesn't mean it actually is. We're going to talk about that today, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the Passive Income MD podcast, where we talk about creating your ideal life through multiple streams of income. If you enjoy hearing about this stuff, make sure to hit subscribe. Now let's get on with the show.
All right, hope you had a great weekend or whenever you're listening to this. This is the summer when I've been recording this, and so hopefully you've been enjoying this time with your family. To me, I see that time as like a limited supply that's actually dwindling over time. And so how can I make the most of it? So hopefully you're doing that this summer. Take that extra trip, take that extra day away, night away, whatever it is, and enjoy time with your loved ones. Now, let me share a quick story. Many of you have probably heard some of this before, but when I came out of fellowship, I landed my dream job right away. It came with a partnership track. It came with essentially what I thought was guaranteed income in the city I wanted to be in, the location, the actual type of work that was meaningful for me. And so there was no other place that I'd rather be. And I heard myself internalize that feeling or those words that I've actually probably said a lot of times. And it was those words that feeling that I'm set. Now, I don't know if you ever whispered that before, whether you said it out loud or at least you thought that. And maybe when you got into medical school, you said, oh man, I'm good to go. I'm just set if I get into medical school or a certain residency or a certain fellowship. And finally you get that attending job and you're like, I'm set if I just get that job. And when you do, you're like, okay, I've got it now. I'm good to go. And that was me. And then about 2 years in, when I hit that partner status, I didn't get what I thought I was going to get. What they promised me had changed. And I didn't realize that could actually happen. I guess I was naive in a lot of ways. And of course, by the time you hit that point in your life, when it comes to a financial standpoint, when it comes to contracts, negotiation, usually you haven't done a lot of that in your past, especially when it comes to medicine. And so you just think when people say something or it's in a contract somewhere that it's just going to be that way. But it wasn't. I found out I wasn't going to get the shifts that I expected. So therefore, I wasn't going to get the reimbursement or the income that I expected. And so it completely changed the way I looked at medicine, unfortunately, the way I looked at people, the way I looked at contracts and jobs and income. And at that point, that's when I made that big decision that I wasn't going to let medicine, the income from it, really dictate exactly how I was going to live my life, that I wasn't going to put all my eggs in one basket. And that honestly changed everything. And that changed so much in my life. And I'm actually really grateful for that moment. The funny thing that came around is once I made the decision and started creating other income streams, I actually ended up getting what I wanted in terms of the time at work, the compensation. It all came my way, but after I had already made all these changes. But at that point, my mindset had already shifted. And I started thinking, all right, this may not last forever. And so I prepared for a time when things would shift. And funny enough, about 7 years later, everything changed at my job in terms of the way the practice was set up. We became employed physicians. We were forced to do so. Otherwise, they said we would lose our contract. Reimbursement, compensation change, vacation time, flexibility, all of that changed dramatically. In fact, a lot of people left that job. I mean, a lot of people left that city. They moved to different locations because they weren't prepared for it. And I felt so lucky that the situation that happened to me early in my career set me up so that when that change did happen, actually, I took a break from medicine and it really felt like I was in control. It was scary still, but I had already prepared myself for that moment. Kind of like the doomsday packers. You know, do you have any of those friends that are set up for those doomsday scenarios where all the electric power goes out? Perhaps there's a natural disaster or perhaps a terrorist event. And in fact, I think to a degree, I wish I was as prepared as those people in some ways. They're so disciplined. They have it all set up in their garage. They have contingency plans. It's funny. I have a friend in New York who was on Manhattan. He even had an inflatable raft that he could blow up in case something happened while he was on the island and had to get out and paddle. And sometimes we laugh at people like that are so overprepared. But when the unexpected happens, we always think, oh man, they were smarter than we were. And so that's the way I see things in medicine as well, too. So many things have changed. I've been part of that. I've seen it change for my friends. I've seen it change to members of our community. And still, there are some people out there that are listening to this that think, oh, it could never happen to me in my situation. And I really hope so. It's like getting insurance. I hope nothing ever happens to any of you listening to this. But I wouldn't be fulfilling my mission or what I feel like my purpose is if I wasn't at least preparing you for that moment. And better be prepared and set up for it. And if it never happens, then great. But if it does, you're ready to go and you're set up for it so that you're not in a situation where you have to make drastic changes, things that might impact your family, and you're not put in a situation where you feel like you're stuck. Hey everyone, I have a quick question for you. Are you looking for a secure and reliable long-term investment strategy? Meet Eckert Enterprises. It's a family-owned and operated firm with over 35 years of experience specializing in U.S. energy and alternative investments. Here at Passive Income MD, you often hear me talk about the need to diversify. One of the safest investment strategies available today are mineral rights. And with Eckert Enterprises, you can diversify your portfolio. Their team is committed to helping private investors like you and me identify and develop successful diversified portfolios. With an average return on investment of over 24% across their portfolios, the Eckert team is dedicated to helping you build and protect your wealth through long-term passive income. All of this while minimizing the risks associated with traditional investments. So check out Eckert Enterprises. If you want that great investment experience, go to EckertEnterprises.com. Again, that's EckertEnterprises.com. Hey everyone, this is Peter Kim. I've got some exciting news for those of you thinking about taking your career beyond clinical medicine. PIMDCON 2025 is officially happening this September 25th through 27th in Newport Beach, California. Now, this isn't your typical conference. It's designed specifically for physicians like you, those who are exploring side hustles, thinking about starting a business, or wanting to learn how to invest in passive real estate. Now, at PIMDCON, you'll hear from top experts, investors, and entrepreneurs who've been in your shoes and are ready to share what works. Now, we built this event with you in mind, with tailored tracks focusing on real estate investing as well as entrepreneurship. So whether you're just starting out or looking to scale, there's something here for you. And if you can't join us in person, we've made it easy for you to participate virtually from anywhere. Now, if you've been thinking about creating more freedom in your life, financially or professionally or time, now this is your chance to take the next step. So head over to PIMDCon.com to grab your ticket. I hope to see you in Newport Beach. It's going to be an incredible weekend of learning, connection, and inspiration. I remember earlier in this whole blog journey, when I started writing blogs, I wrote a blog post called Security in Medicine is a Myth. And it was all about this type of concept, that we all think it's completely secure, we're good to go, we're set for life, but it's not really what we think it is, especially with things changing today so rapidly. And I got a lot of flack for it. I got a lot of people responding to me because this article ended up, I think, on Doximity or one of these things. And the comments were pretty brutal towards me. Like, who does he think he is? Oh, that's absolutely untrue. He's just an alarmist. He doesn't know. If that's the case, he just hasn't set up his career the right way. And the funny thing is now when I talk to people, especially having gone through COVID, I think people's sentiment has changed quite a bit. And whenever I'm at a conference, I usually ask people to raise their hands if they think that medicine for them as a physician, as a person, as a family member, as a breadwinner for their family, that it'll be in a better place for them 5 years from now. And almost no one ever raises their hands. They always think it'll be either the same or worse. So I always ask them, are you prepared for that moment? Because I think the biggest risk is knowing that that's going to come, but doing nothing about it. So let me list some of the reasons why some of this change might happen. Number one, changes in reimbursement. I think we all know this. My wife's a physician. My wife's a surgeon. And she's told me about situations where insurance companies, where Medicare has completely changed some of the reimbursement structure. What's reimbursed, what's not. And it just happens from one day to the next. All of a sudden, you plan to do a certain type of surgery, but what happens is they decide not to reimburse for it anymore. So what are you supposed to do? I remember as an anesthesiologist, there's a pending legislation every year or two whether certain aspects of anesthesia would be reimbursed or not, especially within residency programs. I think all of you who are involved in the billing in some way, whether you own your own private practice, have seen this play out, and it doesn't seem to work in our favor. So you know those things are coming more and more. Next, the whole system of medicine has changed. We went from a place, I'd say about 15, 20 years ago, where 75 to 80% of physicians were running their own practice. They were in control. They were their own entrepreneurs. They were their own bosses. And now, just like 15, 20 years later, it's completely flipped in terms of numbers, where now 75 to 80% of us are employed. Now, I don't want to say that's a good or a bad thing, but many of us made that choice to be employed because we wanted the stability, because we wanted the security, we wanted the benefits, not to think about some of those other things that are happening in medicine and have to deal with it. But what's happened is we've given up our autonomy. How many of us have been in a situation where you've heard of positions getting cut, or salaries getting dropped, or consolidation happening, or practices changing their model where they go to physician extenders and change the number of physicians present? Knowing what I know about the employee-employer situation, employees are never empowered. There's usually very little leverage on their side, which has happened to physicians today, which I think has caused a lot of the issues that we're facing. But I think that's the reality of today's environment in terms of medicine. Next, I think is an obvious one, but we haven't seen play out too much, but AI and automation is changing everything. There was a recent report where they're pitting AI against physicians in terms of diagnosis, and they found that AI in many situations was faster and more accurate when it came to certain diagnoses, that there are things that they can piece together that oftentimes sometimes a physician isn't capable of doing. Things on imaging, radiologists, when it's a digital format, of course, to some degree, AI is going to have an advantage in some of those places. Now, of course, I think that physicians are absolutely necessary. The human experience, the expertise, those things cannot be replaced. I think a lot of us would be dishonest if we didn't admit that there are aspects of medicine where a AI or automation or a robot could do better for us. But of course, where they could help us actually scale and do better at our jobs. But there are certain aspects of it that they can take over, which might mean that in certain scenarios, less physicians are needed. Now, I think that if you can add value, you can put yourself in a higher position, make yourself indispensable. I think those people will actually do better in the end. I think we're seeing that play out in the tech world, where a lot of the lower level coders and things like that have gotten replaced, but talent at the top is even more sought after and even better compensated. In medicine, a lot of that can happen as well. But certain tasks that we used to get paid for will definitely disappear. And something that we're seeing because of the state of medicine, because of the system, because of a lot of things that are going on, yes, there are physicians that are flaming out in many ways. Priorities have shifted. People don't want to grind as much oftentimes because they don't feel the rewards are there. People do whatever they're incentivized to do and whatever's meaningful for them. And oftentimes, a lot of that has changed for us as physicians. So there's a huge risk of relying on one thing to be there to support you and your family and to always work in your favor. I think of it kind of like you're balancing on a one-legged stool. You can probably do it for a little while, but when more things get added or time goes on, at some point, you're going to have to figure out how to bring more legs into that situation. And so I've had recent podcasts on that, what to do if your physician income changes. But for this podcast, I want you to start thinking about the possibilities. If this were to happen, are you prepared for that? What situation could you see where it could happen? Not that we're calling that out or trying to manifest that situation, but knowing that that potentially could happen, are you going to prepare yourself? Are you going to invest in things that will set yourself up, whether it's education, whether it's building networks and community, whether it's building income streams? And that's a big part of what we do here at PIMD. Many of you listening to this have already gotten that warning shot in the past. You've seen it happen to one of your colleagues or within your system. Consider that your wake-up call. Build your backup plan right now, your contingency. For many people who have done that in our community, I can think of many members who started that as a contingency and it became their main thing, their main source of income, with a total optionality, control of their time. And that's a great byproduct or secondary effect, even if that's not your intentional goal. So in any case, I want to leave you with that question again. Is your physician's salary or your position really safe? And if you feel it's not completely guaranteed, what are you going to do about it? And I'll leave you with that today. Hope you had an amazing week. Whatever we can do to continue to support you. I hope to see many of you at our in-person event, the conference PIMDCON. But either way, thanks for being part of our community, and let's talk again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy the show? Let me know by dropping a review in the podcast app you're listening to us in. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit subscribe. Join thousands of physicians who are also on this journey to creating their ideal lives through multiple streams of income. Learn more at our website, passiveincomemd.com. Thanks again for allowing me to be a part of your journey. See you next time.